Just arrived at the draft for day 2. Everything happened just before we even got in the door, and the building is buzzing about it. This is a much louder building than I saw in Philly in 2014. The Subban deal, the Marleau deal, it's insane. How do you not look at the Devils as the runaway winners of this draft? First overall pick with Jack Hughes. They get Subban for practically nothing. It's a big weekend, man. The theme of this draft, in my opinion, has been cap space. Subban cost Shea Weber a few years ago, and that was supposed to be a ripoff. We only talked about it for years. And now he could be had for a stay-at-home defenseman and futures, essentially. But what do the Predators get out of it? $9 million in cap space. That's pretty good. Devils obviously get better right off the bat. They have an offensively minded right-hand defenseman and maybe a guy who could convince Taylor Hall to stay, which I think is going to be a growing theme for the New Jersey Devils, but that's neither here nor there. He makes them better now. And I saw a lot of disheartened Nashville fans, but you don't think they're going to free up $9 million in cap space to do nothing with it, do you? Everyone's talking about Matt Duchene, so if you want to look at it this way, and this is a very Oilers of 2016 way of looking at it, it could potentially end up as whatever the Predators got from New Jersey, plus Matt Duchene. Patrick Marleau was traded, I saw just a few minutes before that. A lot of Leaf fans didn't seem to be stoked with that deal. After all, you see first-round pick given up, especially after they had just given up another first-round pick this season for Jake Muzzin. Oh my goodness, when are we ever going to draft ever again? But at the end of the day, what's more valuable to that team right now? Is it the first-round pick next year that is conditional and protected, it sounds like, or is it the $6.25 million? It's the $6.25 million in cap space. The other first-round pick that was traded today, and this got some grumbles from the locals, is JT Miller goes to the Canucks. Now, that was another one where, well, he's not a bad player. He's pretty good. And also, he makes the Canucks better right away. But the question I kept seeing, and it's a little bit dry, is, wait a sec. Does Jim Benning think the Canucks are good? Well, they had a goalie that was on the perimeter of the Vezina conversation. They got one of the best young players in the game in Elias Pettersson. You can't leave Brock Besser out of the conversation with that team as well. And the Pacific Division isn't exactly the strongest. Why shouldn't Jim Benning think that the Canucks can pull it off? But the big concern with fans of all teams when they trade away their first-round pick is, well, what's next year's draft going to be like? Because all I kept hearing around the draft is, well, 2020 is supposed to be really good. 2020 is supposed to be really good. Well, a lot of people don't know much about this year's draft until like a couple days before. So why is 2020 going to be so good? Luckily, I ran into Niagara Ice Dogs assistant GM Brandon Currie, and he talked about next year's picks.
Yeah, so in terms of the 2020 draft next season, it's slated to be one of the best drafts in recent memory. When you look at the very top with Alex Lafreniere, clear number one generational talent. Beyond him, there's that trio of Swedes that are going to make a big name for themselves with Alexander Holtz, Lucas Raymond, and Noah Gundler. Those are three stars that are going to step into the league right away. When you go to the OHL, it's going to be one of the best drafts in the OHL in years. Quinton Byfield from Sudbury, Jacob Perreault from Sarnia, you have Jamie Drysdale from Erie. There's a lot of top names from the OHL and the WHL as well. So 2020 is going to be one of the strongest drafts in years, and it's going to be very deep. You know, whether you're picking top 10 or in the teens or even early 20s, there's going to be a superstar available for your team.
So if anyone was hoping I would put your anxiety for next year's draft at ease if your team traded away a first-round pick, sorry, but maybe your team did what they needed to do, right? Another big thing that the draft always yields is memes from the reactions of fans in the stands. You might remember last year with Philip Zadina, there was a shocked fan in the stands who thought for sure he was going to the Habs. Nope. This year, it wasn't someone getting passed over, it was someone getting picked way earlier. Moritz Seider, they were talking about him maybe going middle to late first round. A lot of people had him going in the second. I even saw one that said third. Steve Yzerman and the Detroit Red Wings pick him 6th overall.
With the 6th pick in the draft, the Detroit Red Wings select from Mannheim of the DEL, Moritz Seider.
Whoa! There was an audible gasp in the building. Everyone lost their mind, including this Red Wings fan. Well, because the whole hockey world is in the building at the same time, I actually got to run into this guy and ask him what was going through his head.
On the car ride up here, I said there was a couple guys I'd be stoked for the Red Wings to take, a couple guys I wouldn't be as crazy about. One person who was not on either of those lists was Moritz Seider. I literally said on the drive up here, if Ken Holland had picked Moritz Seider, I probably would have just ran out of the building crying. But if Steve Yzerman picked Moritz Seider, then I'd buy a jersey. So looks like I'm buying a Moritz Seider jersey. Let's go Wings.
The other funny one I heard from a Canucks fan is leave it to the Canucks to draft the guy on crutches, which... few other thoughts from the draft. A lot of people have liked what Carolina's done. Obviously, they did what they did with the Patrick Marleau thing, and it sounds like they're going to buy him out. They got a few more assets, but because they did so well, they finished in the Final Four. Their picks haven't been that great, at least in terms of where they were in the draft, but they've gotten very good value out of their picks. Honka was one that everyone's raving about here. And even though it's only one move, I do need to give a special shout out to what the Montreal Canadiens did, getting Cole Caulfield. I think he's a fantastic pick, one of the steals of the first round, and the Habs are in a really good spot where all their best players are young. They got Kotkaniemi, who's only going to get better. Obviously, they got Paling, who's looking for a regular spot. Nick Suzuki, that guy's a killer. He's looking for a regular spot. And now they add Caulfield to it, the all-time leading goal scorer in the U.S. development program. Okay, bud. Obviously, that's not it. That's not everything from this draft, but those are just some of my main thoughts. Let me know what you thought about the draft. Who do you think got the best steal? Who do you think made the biggest screw up? What do you think about all those first round picks going for next year's draft? What do you think about all the trades? What do you think about everything? Leave a comment down below. That's it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. It's supposed to be a good draft next year.